Beijing claiming it was, quote, deeply shocked and firmly opposed to the capture of Maduro. Hours before his capture, Maduro was actually meeting with a Chinese envoy in Caracas. All this happening as Venezuela sits at the center of a broader global shift, selling oil to China in yuan, not dollars. BRICS nations pushing away from the dollar, or trying to, as China tries to expand its own financial infrastructure. Joining me now with a look at markets in the face of all of this is the president of Macro Maven, Stephanie Pomboy. Stephanie, good to see you. Give us your sense of what this Venezuela story means for markets and the dollar.
Well, it's a tremendous story, Maria. Obviously, we have come a long way from the days of Obama on the apology tour around the globe and the U.S. kowtowing to the UN and letting rogue actors all over the world just kind of run roughshod. President Trump has really reestablished the U.S. as a force for peace in the world. And is really shoring up the Western Hemisphere through these actions. And I would argue that this action in Venezuela really dovetails with the tariff diplomacy, which is perceived as being primarily about trade, but I would argue is equally about national security and preserving peace. A lot of the peace deals he's negotiated have been the result of threatening with tariffs, et cetera. So I think this is a huge example of this shift, obviously, with the U.S. reasserting its dominance on the global stage. But also, as you mentioned in the intro, it's really important vis-a-vis China, and especially its Belt and Road Initiative, which it has been undertaking for more than a decade. And the U.S. has kind of been sleeping through this basically Cold War for resources that China has been waging, procuring strategic resources all over the globe through relationships with Southeast Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe, et cetera. And so we finally have a president who recognizes the urgency of waking up and getting into this Cold War for resources and procuring these resources. I don't think it's an accident that while everyone else was talking about the implications from Venezuela about Cuba and Nicaragua, that the president was focused on Greenland, not Nicaragua and Cuba. So I think we're finally in a position where we have leadership that recognizes the stakes and is taking actions to address them.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it certainly is a major message to our adversaries like China.